Welcome to the Thriving on Purpose podcast, where we teach Christian entrepreneurs how to build a strong foundation of faith, growth, and skill to lead and thrive on purpose in life and business. And now, here are your hosts, certified coaches Elisabeth and Sebastien Richard.
Welcome to another episode of the Thriving on Purpose podcast. And today we're going to talk about leaders building greater leaders. So I wanted to talk about this topic because we often hear the phrase, building great leaders. You need to be a leader building person because that's what a great leader is. And most of the time, a lot of people don't even understand what that looks like or what they mean. So they think, if they're part of a team, that building leaders means that you have more leaders than somebody else in another team. Therefore, you are a leader builder. They have no clue what that even looks like. So we're going to talk about what it is to be a true great leader that's going to build a greater leader than even you, okay? So we're going to start with a passage that's in the Bible that's talking about John the Baptist and Jesus. So I'm going to read to you John chapter 3, verse 22 to 30. After this, Jesus and his disciples went out into the Judean countryside where he spent some time with them and baptized. Now John also was baptized in Aenon near Salim, because there was plenty of water and people were coming and being baptized. This was before John was put in prison. An argument developed between some of John's disciples and a certain Jew over the matter of ceremonial washing. They came to John and said to him, "Rabbi, that man who was with you on the other side of the Jordan, the one you testified about, look, he is baptizing and everyone is going to him." To this, John replied, "A person can receive only what is given them from heaven. You yourselves can testify that I said, I am not the Messiah, but am sent ahead of him. The bride belongs to the bridegroom. The friend who attends the bridegroom waits and listens for him and is full of joy when he hears the bridegroom's voice. That joy is mine, and it is now complete. He must become greater, I must become less." So obviously we're talking about Jesus and he's God, right? So it's just normal that he is bigger and has more followers and all that. But even if we were talking about man to man, John the Baptist had a really great attitude. And that's the exact attitude to be a great coach, to be a great mentor, to be the greatest leader. You have to have this attitude that you want to see the person that you're teaching leadership, that you're pouring into, that you're mentoring, become even greater than you. So there's no attitude of you're going to steal my thunder, you're making more sales than I do, you have more influence, you have more followers on YouTube, you have more this, more that, and being jealous of that. Because the true leader that's really trying to build a legacy, that's trying to pour into leaders to become even greater, understands that that's a tremendous, amazing legacy and creates a legacy of significance. And that's what a true leader is thriving for. So it's not just about their personal success. Obviously, these great men have had a lot of success as well. And we're going to talk about other examples in business. But the true meaning, what you're looking for is to really pour into people. And, I think it's really sad that a lot of great leaders, a lot of good leaders, I won't say great, but I would say good leaders can pour more into a younger generation. And sometimes they're too focused on their personal successes and going to get more and more and more when it's not that necessary. At the point where they're at, they could be pouring into the younger generation that really needs that mentoring and that coaching so that they can become great as well. So I think a lot of successful men that are non-Christians miss the mark when it comes to that. Because at one point, there's success. I mean, it never ends. The scale, the ladder of who's more successful than who and who's making more millions of dollars, it gets old at one point. And then they wake up realizing that, they're kind of bored with their lives and they've pretty much done everything that they wanted to do. So as Christian kingdom entrepreneurs, our goal here is to really strive for more. God asks us to be world changers, and true leadership is really that. It's really being a coach and mentor as well, not just, follow me and this is how it's done and this is how you have success, but giving back to the leaders in your team, the people that you're working with. So I just want to give you a few examples of two great mentors, great coaches that had a really big impact. And because these mentors are of the older generation, a lot of you guys may not, women and men may not know who they are, or maybe you've seen the trickling down effect of these men. So we're going to talk about Jim Rohn. So as you know, most people know him as the father of personal development, and that's because in our century, if you want, he's had the greatest impact from what we know because we've seen the direct impact. So a few people that he mentored, that he poured into their lives and coached, is Tony Robbins, that you've heard about. Brian Tracy, he's a famous author, speaker, and leadership coach. If you're pretty young, you may not know who he is, but you can look him up. Very, very good leadership trainer. There's also Mark Victor Hansen, which is the author and co-author Jack Canfield. They both built the series Chicken Soup series. So the books Chicken Soup for the Soul. So they worked together to create that. So Jim Rohn had a direct impact in their lives. Chris Widener, very well-known author, speaker, and coach, they authored together, him and Jim Rohn, the 12 Pillars of Success. T. Harv Eker, as you've probably seen a lot on Facebook, on social media. And there's many. There's Everton Edwards, founder of Hallmark Innovators Conglomerate. There has been many different men out there that Jim Rohn has had a great impact. And I think I read in his biography, he had done like 6,000. He spoke 6,000 times to different audiences. And he's had an impact over 5 million people through time, through all the different works that he has out there. And last but not least, Jim Rohn had a direct mentoring with Darren Hardy. And it's funny because sometimes you hear Darren Hardy talk about different stories about his mentor, Jim Rohn. And one of the stories is, for you that don't know who Darren Hardy is, he's the founder of Success Magazine and also wrote the famous book, The Compound Effect. I doubt that you guys don't know who he is, but anyway. So once he was talking about Jim Rohn, and he said when he was pretty young and he was starting out, he wrote a list of all the qualities, all the things that he wanted his future wife to have. And he showed his mentor, Jim Rohn, and Jim Rohn glanced at the list really quickly and he said, okay, so now what are you going to do to attract a woman like this? And Darren Hardy, like, his face kind of dropped, and he was like kind of floored because he really didn't see that angle of things, and he really didn't. It's like the first time he thought of it that way, like, what do I have to do? Who do I have to become to attract a woman like that? So it's just a funny anecdote. But so Darren Hardy was one of those men that Jim Rohn poured into, and we see the nice compound effect of that, right? Of that influence and what a great man Darren Hardy has become as well. So there's been different men that I've mentioned that you guys know. Chris Widener is another one. And so I hope that you guys see the importance of not just, being that person that does those 6,000 talks and has his own success, but how that trickling effect of pouring into somebody's life will build a lasting legacy. All these men have built lasting legacies have built wonderful businesses, and there's so many others, right? We all, get mentored by a lot of different coaches, and even through books, through seminars. I'm sure you have some mentors, some coaches that you really work with one-on-one, or that you listen to regularly, that have greatly, tremendously helped you. And that's another thing, for those of you that are more seasoned listening to us, YouTube is a great platform to teach knowledge on the topics that you guys know, that you can help other younger entrepreneurs get answers, and get some good knowledge from what you've experienced, what you've gone through. It's a great platform, and it's wonderful because I know a lot of mentors, a lot of great men that I've listened to, like Dr. Miles Monroe, that passed away a couple of years ago, and that we're still listening to his content, and really, has had a great impact in our lives, and so many other people. And it'll be the same with other famous men that we know today, that one day will be gone, and we'll have all their works left over that we'll be able to still listen to, and our children will be able to listen to. And so the other mentor, the other coach I want to talk about is Coach John Wooden. Now, I know that we've talked about him in other podcasts as well, but there's one thing that he said that I thought was really good. He said in the book, A Game Plan for Life, The Power of Mentoring with Don Yeager, that's the title of the book, Coach Wooden said this: "While I made my living as a coach, I have lived my life to be a mentor and to be mentored constantly." So for him, it was a great accomplishment. It was a great thing for him to pour his life and to help others achieve success. It gave him great joy, and he continued getting mentored as well. So that's another false myth that a lot of leaders have, is that they are to be the leader, be the strong one, teach everybody, but sometimes they don't get mentored themselves. And it's really important as a leader to be mentored by somebody that has gone the path that you want to go, and that has a lot of experience to teach you. So there's a few men that I'm going to mention here. There's Ken Blanchard, Dan Cathy, that we know through Chick-fil-A. So these are all people that I'm mentioning that Coach John Wooden has had an impact on. He's had an impact on so many, because he was a famous sports coach. But I'm naming you guys a few names, famous names that you probably know. So there's Jim Dobson, which created Focus on the Family, which is a really huge Christian organization helping Christian families. Bill Gates, John Maxwell, so leadership coach, famous author and speaker. We all know him. Jim Rohn. So Jim Rohn has been directly impacted by John Wooden as well. And I thought this was really cool. They actually coined the term the Wooden effect, because the true legacy of John Wooden's greatness is the compound of all these men together that created the Wooden effect. So when they talk about that, it's really because all these men have accomplished great things, and there's so many of them that we call it the Wooden effect. So I want you guys to think about this this week. Even if you're not that seasoned, like when I say seasoned, I'm thinking, 50 years and up. But even if you're younger and you're very experienced and you have success in a certain thing, you can always pour into somebody else that really wants to learn what you are knowledgeable about, and teach those people. That's going to create a significance, a greater legacy than just you attaining your own success. So when you hear the terms, building leaders, it's not just about spending time. It's not just spending time, helping them achieve a certain goal. For example, network marketing, selling a certain amount of points and creams and whatever in that month. It's really about pouring into the person, into their one-on-one life, and how you can help them with their mindset, with different words of wisdom, with advice. If you're a Christian leader, then you can offer spiritual advice. Sometimes one of your leaders may be going through something in their family There's so many ways that you can pour into people and have this impact and see them grow. And it's going to help your organization. It's going to just create something really, really great and give you a lot of joy, and will make the Father in heaven very, very proud of you. So I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. Be blessed and thrive on. And don't forget to share this podcast. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening to the Thriving on Purpose podcast. Be sure to visit thrivingonpurpose.com to access the show notes and to discover more fantastic content. Until next time, be blessed and may you thrive on purpose.